We will get started in just a moment. We're trying to make sure everybody is connected to the internet. Thank you for your patience. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for joining us. Today is Thursday, almost a Tuesday, March 25th. Or sorry, see, I'm all out of it today. Thursday, March 5th, 2026, and this is the regular meeting of the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board. I hereby call this meeting to order. Our first item will be the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand and join us. Thank you. Next, we will take a moment of silent reflection. Okay, next we will move on to recognitions and celebrations, and this will be led by Executive Director Nuanez.
President Zaidama, board members, Superintendent Davidson, fellow cabinet members, and guests, both present and online. Tonight, we proudly recognize Bianca Smith, 7th grader at Western Sky Middle School, for her exceptional accomplishments, both academically and athletically. Bianca recently earned the title of Arizona's Elk Hoop Shoot Champion, making an impressive 23 out of 25 free throws, a testament of her focus, preparation, and mental toughness. She then advanced to compete at regionals in Nevada, where she secured an outstanding second place among some of the region's top young athletes. The Elks Hoop Shoot is a nationwide basketball free throw competition for youth ages 8 through 13. Designed to promote sportsmanship and perseverance, the program challenges participants to shoot 25 free throws as they advance through local, district, state, and regional levels. Bianca's success at both state and regional levels speak volumes about her dedication, discipline, and the ability to perform under pressure. Beyond her athletic achievements, Bianca's commitment to excellence in the classroom reflects the very best of what it means to be a Litchfield learner. She exemplifies hard work, character, and balance, demonstrating that success is built through both effort on and off the court. We celebrate Bianca's remarkable accomplishments and the pride that she brings to Western Sky and the entire LESD 7-9 community. Congratulations, Bianca. We are incredibly proud of you. Yay, Bianca! You want to come up here and take a picture with her as well? Yeah. Come on up right over here.
Sam, do you want the whole board or just Melissa?
"23 out of 25, that is amazing. I don't know that I could make 5 out of 25, but that is very impressive. So way to go. Way to represent Litchfield later on too. So you are doing amazing. Okay, we are going to move on now to next item. We don't have any public comment. So next is adoption of the agenda. We are just going to be adopting the agenda and not the consent agenda at this time because we need to do consent after our action items, as the consent items are kind of contingent on our action items. So if someone wants to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Having a motion from Ms. Moran and a second from Mr. Owens, I will call for the vote. Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Next, we will move on to our action items, which we will start with the community education rates for 26-27 school year. This will be by Dr. Stair.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Governing Board. I'm just here following up on my presentation a couple weeks ago. There's really only one new slide here. It's a follow-up. If we could get... Oh, hey. I want someone to come use it for me. There you go. You got it? Yes, thanks. An update, there was a question about discounts for our Freya Union High School District employees at the last meeting. And so this is just some data there. If we took away that discount entirely, it would save us about $34,000 a year, or at least that's what we're currently projected to pay out this year. Reducing that amount by half would, of course, half what we'd be saving to $17,000 per year. And then that third bullet point there, the difference in savings could be absorbed by changes in how snacks and milk are apportioned. And I'll explain that really quick. This year we've been doing snacks and milk a little bit differently. We're required by licensing to offer everyone a milk. And we throw away many, many cows worth of milk every day, unopened. And for instance, this year our milk budget is $90,000 just for milk, not even snacks. And so what we've been doing is we bought something called shelf-stable milk, where it doesn't go bad. We can leave it on a shelf. And so if our licensing inspector comes and there's a kid who says, I don't want a milk, they say, well, you have to offer it one. Well, there it is. There's a shelf-stable milk. We can give that to them if they really wanted a milk. And we're only ordering milk for the kids who actually drink milk. And so we're not throwing away nearly as much milk. And we're on track to save about $20,000 this year with that. And so we feel that A 10% discount could be absorbed by that change that we've made in milk. We didn't have hard numbers on that previously, but as we've gone through and looked at how much we're actually saving, it's quite a bit of money, actually. We're also saving a bit on snacks, and that's just in cooperation with our kitchen managers. Whereas before they said for every snack you have to have a milk, and for every milk you have to have a snack, and they're now allowing us to order fewer snacks, and then we keep shelf-stable snacks on hand in case we need more snacks that we have on any given day. And so we're actually saving quite a bit of money by doing that. So our recommendation would be, because this is possible, we can reduce the tuition discount for our free Union High School District employees to 10% and not come out behind the 8 ball on that. Otherwise, I'll skip to the rates as presented in the previous meeting. We're proposing that we propose rates across the board by 5% and then a bit more for our peer mentor preschool classes. So this is what the new rates would be for all of our typical programs at 5% increase, and then for preschool, and then for the peer mentor preschool, we'd be going up to, which is still well below the market average, but still encourages people to take advantage of that really valuable program. Are there any questions or discussion?
Mr. Mikes, did you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, nothing further. I appreciate all the information.
Ms. Wallace?
No questions. The milk is a shocking number, and I'm glad you found a way to save a little money and not waste so much milk. My kids would drink it, so next time don't throw it away. I'll come get it.
Ms. Moran?
No questions. I think this is a decent compromise in the 10% proposal and absorbing that through the snack changes. So,
Mr. Owens?
Yes, I am grateful for this. That was a follow-up to kind of my question last week, and it really was just a question, but knowing that we are saving money, and I appreciate you finding those ways that can impact our partner district. I think it's important that we have that relationship with them, because we hope that in return, any opportunities for them to help our teachers out is reciprocated. Yeah, and that is, I think these are reasonable. It's so funny, my very first board meeting, or I think it was like first couple weeks of my very first board meeting, I had to raise rates that affected me too, with after extended day and all that stuff. So here I am again with the next with another one going next year. But it's important that we, unfortunately have to do this, but this is what it costs, and we got to stay solvent. So thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. Thank you. I appreciate you finding a way to find balance for us to be able to continue to offer a discount to Agua Fria employees, even though it's not as much as they were getting before, but it's still something. So I think this is a good compromise on that, and I'm glad to see that we're headed in a good direction of having that be more self-funded and not be underwater. So thank you very much. If somebody would like to make a motion.
I'll move to approve the community education rates as presented.
I'll second.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Mr. Owens, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Ms. Wallace? Ms. Moran?
yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
I'm a yay. Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we are going to bring up the superintendent evaluation tool, and this discussion is going to be led by Dr. Benjamin. I'm so excited to get to say that tonight, as well as I'm assuming we're going to have some discussion here with Board Member Mikes and Board Member Wallace.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the governing board. It is a little different to hear Dr. Benjamin. I kind of like it, but I'm not used to it yet. This has been a labor of love, and I'm excited to be able to bring it back. We had discussion around this work a couple of months ago, I believe it was in January, talking about the superintendent's evaluation. There were some discussions and some recommendations for changes, specifically the ethical and personal integrity, so we've added that back in. We also worked on some just numbering and making sure that that was clear and easy to understand. But you have seen quite a few of the superintendent evaluation tools. So before we move on to what it would look like possibly to score, I wanted to see if there were any other questions or discussions around the superintendent's evaluation tool, specifically this, before we move forward.
I'm actually going to start with Ms. Moran, since these two that I were starting with were the ones that helped make it. So Ms. Moran, did you have any questions about this, what's been presented tonight?
No, I asked all my questions last time, so I'm good, thanks.
Mr. Owens,
I'm good also, thank you.
did you two have anything you wanted to add?
Nothing from me. No.
Okay. Nope, we're good.
It looks good.
They think it looks great.
And thank you to Board Member Mikes and Board Member Wallace for all of your help with this. It has been definitely a collaborative effort. The second piece that we just wanted to showcase and share was one option. There are many options of how you could use this tool, but Board Member Mikes had created an easy way to capture all of this. And so the thought behind this, I think that they're going to be pulling it up in just a second. The thought behind this specific tool would be that this would be the president's tool when they're gathering all of the data that they could use this main one. We would send out individually. It would likely be either the president that would send this out or possibly Ms. Contra. They would send it individually, and each member would be able to score and then send it to the president. So you would not all be seeing the scores together. This would just be the final document when you come together to discuss it. So we wanted to showcase this and talk through this and see if there was any changes or recommendations. And this, I don't believe, has to be voted on because this is just how you're capturing, but we did want to give you an opportunity to talk through it.
Mr. Owens, did you have any comments about this?
I do not, thank you.
Ms. Moran?
My only comment is I love a good spreadsheet, so this is right up my alley, and I think it will make it easier to assess the information and easier for the president to roll everything up together as well. So well done.
Did you two have any comments about this? You also think it looks great?
This is all Mr. Mike's work with the color coding and the beautification. So I love it. I love the color categories and how clean and easy it looks. So good work, Mr. Mike's.
Well, thank you. Colors and beautification is my specialty. So, no, nothing further. What Board Member Moran said as well, the main thing is for an easy capture and a quick way to send all the stuff out, and then just mathematically it figures that out and puts it with the rubric, so that that will make it easier to base our discussions off of.
If you do have Excel questions, Board Member Mikes is quite skilled and is learning coding and is pretty talented with this. So if you need some help, I recommend.
And let me recommend Dr. Benjamin for any of your questions for Excel as well. Yeah, but just quit trying to push stuff on me.
I think this is fantastic as the person that will have to do it first. I very much appreciate that it's already all put together and ready to go, and I don't have to do this. He was getting this put together before when they were originally doing it, and it made things so much easier, even just us trialing it out for when we did his evaluation, his mid-year in December. So thank you guys for the work you put in. I know that took some time, and we appreciate that you guys did that. With that, if somebody wants to make a motion.
I move to approve the superintendent evaluation tool as presented.
I second.
Having a motion from Ms. Moran and a second from Ms. Wallace, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Look at us. We are moving along, guys. This is fantastic. Except for now, we're going to go to the budget. We're going to move on to the fiscal year 26-27 projected budget. We've had many, many conversations, and this is kind of wrapping that all up, and this is going to be led by CFO Vaughn.
I have to say, I feel left out of all of this spreadsheet conversation, and I don't know what I think about it. All right.
You should add some colors next time.
Thank you, everyone. Cabinet, board members for joining me tonight, hopefully to bring our discussion and action related to the budget for 2026-2027 to somewhat of a conclusion. Tonight's presentation has some new information, but is primarily a summary of everything we've talked about to bring for final approval. The updates from our previous conversations tonight is just documenting Classroom Site Fund, Instructional Improvement Fund, and performance pay, as well as the benefits package for next year. As you will probably recall, we don't receive our benefits renewal information until March 1st. That's why we have this board meeting not on Tuesday, but on Thursday, to allow time to work through that renewal and package it in a way that we can discuss it tonight. So thank you for that flexibility. We are recommending no change to the Classroom Site Fund, Instructional Improvement Fund, and performance pay for 2026-2027. What I have on the slide here itemizes out essentially what we utilize that funding for. The Classroom Site Fund provides 2 5.5-hour aides at every school. Each teacher receives $7,000 base pay, $500 performance pay, and $4,500 of the leadership development base pay as part of their compensation package from the Classroom Site Fund. And for those employees who are eligible to receive compensation from the Classroom Site Fund, it is also the funding source for the longevity stipend that we had board approved last year for those employees that have over 10 years of consecutive service with the district at $1,000 or $2,500 if it's over 20. This is not new information, but it is a slide that we did not have a lot of discussion about, and so I just wanted to bring it up to make certain that we did cover this with the board. We are proposing some title changes without any change in compensation. These title changes, for the most part, are designed to better represent what the employee is doing in order to allow us to set proper expectations, and then if the position were to become vacant, to have an easier time recruiting. None of these changes result in any compensation changes. It's simply a movement towards clarity.
Mr. Vaughn, just
Yeah.
really quick, if there's a chance just to take advantage of this opportunity, if you go back one slide because obviously we're going through all our budget stuff and lots of questions as far as where they come from. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on the Classroom Site Fund piece, on how that money comes to us? And as we can see, we use a chunk of that obviously to keep the teacher salaries up, and then also that Instructional Improvement Fund.
Yeah. The Classroom Site Fund is primarily funded from 2 funding sources. The most significant one is a sales tax for education. The Classroom Site Fund has been around for a little bit over 20 years, and the payouts for Classroom Site Fund that districts receive varies year to year based on those tax collections. What the state does is they set a per student dollar amount. They do use prior year student counts for Classroom Site Fund in the same sort of way that they use prior year student counts for our capital funding. The Instructional Improvement Fund has also been known as the Gaming Fund. That revenue comes from taxes on gambling proceeds. And how the state determines how much we get, if I'm honest, is a little bit more nebulous to me than the Classroom Site Fund. We tend to receive that funding in 2 payments each year, and it doesn't change much year to year. So how that is determined in terms of what goes to each district is a little bit more nebulous to me. But that is generated from essentially taxes on gambling proceeds.
Great, thank you very much.
Of course. All right, so employee benefits are a crucial and critical part of an employee's total compensation. And Litchfield Elementary School District, similar to many school districts, provide various types of benefits to our employees, including one piece that I think is very often or easily overlooked, which is our contributions to the state retirement system. It truly is a significant part of the compensation that employees of school districts receive. So prior to medical, dental, or any of those other benefits that we typically think of as benefits, I do think it's important to note that we do pay over 20% of any dollar that we pay to an employee in compensation, also to ASRS and Social Security and items of those nature. It is kind of an interesting note to make that not all states structure their state benefit systems in a way that the employees are also eligible for Social Security. We in Arizona are actually quite privileged in that way that our employees not only contribute to ASRS and have that pension in retirement if they become eligible, but also Social Security on top of it. But I will spend a majority of the rest of our conversation talking about the more traditional benefits of medical, dental, vision, and life. It is important to note that ASBATE, our medical insurance provider, operates as a pool carrier. What that means is several school districts get together as members of ASBATE, and ASBATE designs insurance plans for those school districts. They offer each of their plans to each of their school districts. An ASBATE school district cannot choose to have a plan that a different ASBATE school district doesn't have at least offered to them. We don't have any design capability to our plans. But what does differ between districts in the ASBATE pool is how much we are charged. ASBATE does group their renewals in the sense that they try to keep the renewals each year in a range and allow the pool itself to provide, if you will, a secondary level of insurance against rate changes. So what that might mean is if you're having a particularly bad year, your renewal may not be as bad as it would otherwise be if you were standing alone. But if you had a particularly good year, you also might not have as good of a renewal as you otherwise would if you were standing alone. For next year, we are continuing our strategy of not changing our contributions in total to employee benefits. However, you will see that there are slight changes between the benefit lines themselves. This is actually undoing a change we made last year when we changed dental carriers to a cheaper option and then shifted that savings to cover more of the medical. This brings that dollar amount back to the dental, and the reason is we're proposing shifting back to the dental plan we had previously. We're lucky enough that the carrier has not increased the rates on that plan since we left it. And so what this results in is not only having the exact same dental plan we had prior to the change, which addresses a fair bit of feedback we've heard from employees, but the cost of that plan is actually identical to when we left it. So as a quick summary, the renewal came back at a 7% increase for medical. That was too much of an increase to allow us to continue the strategy we've been utilizing the last number of years of keeping a free plan by reducing the HSA contribution the district made. And so what we're proposing we do is offer what ASBATE calls the HDHPC plan, which is a lower level high deductible healthcare plan to allow us to maintain a free option. Also maintain the high deductible healthcare plan that we presently provide. That's ASBATE's richest high deductible healthcare plan, but offer it as a buy-up option, so it would cost the employee some amount of money. In doing the math around this change, it actually supports us increasing the HSA contribution as shown on the slide. And then as I shared, we are proposing changing back our provider for dental and vision because that is the feedback that we've heard from employees, and that is a change that we'd like to honor them with. One thing I'd like to share briefly before we pause for questions is really our partnership with ASBATE. I know a 7% increase or renewal might seem a little rough, but as we've worked through this process and chatted with our colleagues at other districts, we're regularly hearing renewals upwards of 10%. And this slide speaks just briefly to what we might expect had we been, as I mentioned earlier, standing alone as opposed to in a pool. What this table shows is what's called a loss ratio, which is a statistic that the insurance companies calculate that show how much they pay out in claims compared to how much we pay for their coverage. A 100% loss ratio would mean that it's exactly balanced, that we paid exactly to them what they paid out in claims for us. You can see our most recent loss ratio is 112%. So what that means is they have paid out over 12% more to cover our claims than we have paid to them to cover those claims. And so if we were standing alone, it wouldn't be at all unreasonable to have a renewal in excess of 12% to try to balance that out. But instead, because of the power of the pool, we were offered a 7% renewal. So I just wanted to highlight truly, even though it may not feel that way, the partnership that ASBATE really is showing with Litchfield. At this point, I'll pause for questions or comments on the benefits plan or strategy.
Mr. Mikes?
I don't have any questions. It's all pretty clearly laid out. I appreciate all the hard work with that portion of it.
Ms. Wallace?
I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
Ms. Moran?
I don't have any questions either. I'll just say one thing that I've said many times before, which is we are one of the few employers that offers, even to an employee only, a health plan that does not cost an employee out of pocket. And so I'm always going to be curious how many employees don't take us up on the free insurance and the $500 we would give them to their HSA because they're covered by a different plan, because I do still feel that it is not equitable and that we would be able to potentially save money if we offered, I don't know how you would word that, but basically if someone were eligible to be on a spouse or partner's plan and they chose to be on that plan and our plan because our plan is free, then why wouldn't they do that? But that's actually costing us, as you can see, $7,000, almost $8,000 per employee. So I think as the budget talks continue, that would be one area that we could potentially look into somehow incentivizing folks to not take both coverages if they actually don't really need it. Again, I don't know what the legal ramifications or anything about that is, but again, food for thought on that.
Mr. Owens?
I have no questions. Thank you.
I know we just got this on Monday, and we need this information so that we can get contracts out. But I do know that for a long time, nobody ever asked them, can you give us a better rate? And then several years ago, we had somebody that went back to them and said, hey, can we do better? And they did do better. So I'm wondering if we tried that at all. I know this is a very short time frame, so maybe that wasn't even an option, but just curious if that was at all tried.
Honestly, given the renewal and the fact that they gave us a 2.5% renewal last year and the trend of our loss ratio, it didn't feel like the right time to try to play further hardball.
That's fair. I just wanted, I mean, you know, it doesn't hurt to ask sometimes, but that makes sense too. So, yeah, I don't have any other questions.
I do have a question. The next many slides are details of what I just summarized. Does the board want me to go through them, or are we comfortable with moving beyond the benefits portion of the presentation?
I'm fine with not going through them, but that would be up to the rest of my board members if they need us to go through all of this stuff.
I'm okay moving forward without individual slides.
Yes, I've also read all of the slides previously, so I'm okay to skip them. I don't have any questions.
Ms. Moran, Mr. Owens?
Yeah, I'm fine with, yeah, same here.
Okay, we're good.
Not like I understand any of it anyway, so yeah, I'm good.
I mean, you're going to go through all this with our staff anyways, all there, so we're good. Yep.
Ryan, you and I can go to lunch sometime.
I mean, I guess what I would add to that is I don't have any questions on it because, to CFO Vaughn's point, we don't have any control over these rates and how they're set. So at this point, it kind of is what it is, and we could sit and look at all of it, but it's not going to change anything because we don't have the power to change any of it. So it's really informational at this point.
That is correct, yeah. All right. This slide shows a summary of truly what we've been talking about the last many meetings, and it shows how the total of the M&O budget comes to be. It shows the amount of revenue that comes from the state funding formula, a very significant amount of funds that come from our 15% M&O override, and various other portions of the funding formula that goes into our total M&O budget that we're talking about. This forecast is very similar to all of the other ones that we've seen previously. What I've done, just for the sake of assisting the governing board with conversation tonight, is plugging in the cost savings of everything the board has already approved, but also all of the other various smaller items that we've been talking through tonight, just so that you can see what that ends up looking like. As we've talked about previously, I do think we've done a good job this budget season looking at a lot of different ways to balance the budget. This forecast does suggest that our work is not done, but we know that. And so I hope what this forecast potentially does is give you some comfort in what our decisions that we've made or will potentially make tonight mean for our work going forward. This slide should look fairly familiar to you. This is just an itemization of the changes that we have discussed, some of which, like the calendar changes, have already been approved Others are those items which tonight's approval of the projected budget would put in place. You can see that this totals to $3.5 million worth of savings as an estimate, and that is the figure. If we go back to the forecast here, you can see that in the cost savings adjustment in the 2027 column. So I just wanted to show how those kind of connect together. All other slides in this presentation are as previously discussed and published, but are simply included so that the approval or modified approval of the projected budget can put those items in place. I'll pause now for any questions or further discussion the board may want to have.
Mr. Mikes, did you have any more comments or questions?
Nothing further, thank you.
Ms. Wallace?
No questions.
Ms. Moran?
I don't have any questions on this. Super comfortable with these numbers because we've talked about them many, many, many times. My only follow-up is I'm not sure, based on your comment about obviously the discussion isn't over and commentary from the last few meetings that we need to continue these discussions. I guess I'm not sure what the process is to formally request budget items to be on the agenda proactively versus what we are required by law to review and what our normal practice has been. So if Dr. Davidson or Ms. Contra or CFO Vaughn could maybe provide some guidance on maybe what you would like to see, and then coordinate that with President Zeidema as far as getting that on the agenda or agendas in the future, perhaps a conversation in our summer retreat as well. I just want to make sure that that does not fall off anyone's radar screen, and that we can have those conversations sooner rather than later.
Do one of you three want to start that?
I'm sorry, President Zeidema, I heard the comments by Ms. Moran. I didn't know if it was a question that needed a response other than, yes, ma'am, comments are being heard, and we will begin to formulate a plan that will allow for earlier conversation around budget and stewardship of our resources. That has not been fully vetted or finalized, so I didn't have a big plan to share, Ms. Zeidema, tonight, but certainly I do hear the request.
I'm good, thanks.
I have no questions. We have talked about this a lot. And the only comment I want to make is because we're going to vote on this in a minute, and I think this is a good learning opportunity for people who, especially maybe that might consider being on the board in the future. We voted on several things last week, and those things were already decided now based on the majority vote. So tonight, when I vote on this budget, it's based on decisions already being made and me supporting the decision that our board has made as a whole. It does not necessarily mean that I've changed my mind about things that I've said in the past, but because it's very important that as a board, once a decision is made, we all support that as a whole, and so I will do that. But I just think that's important for people to know that that's what's happening tonight. There's already pieces of the budget that have been approved, and now we're just going to approve it as a whole. So. Did you have other things we need to talk about, or are we good to move forward with a motion?
I would be happy for the board to move forward with a motion if that's the pleasure of the board.
Me too. If someone would like to make a motion.
I move to approve the remaining budgetary concessions for the 26-27 fiscal year as presented.
I'll second.
Having a motion from Ms. Moran and a second from Mr. Owens, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
I'm a yay. Motion passes. Are we all excited that that can be done for a little bit at least? Woohoo, woohoo. Okay. You guys, we're going to get done so fast tonight. This is fantastic. Next, we're going to move on to consideration and approval of consent agenda. Go through and see if anybody has any items they wish to pull from consent. Mr. Mikes?
No items.
Ms. Wallace?
None for me.
Ms. Moran?
None for me.
Mr. Owens?
Nope.
I have none either. If someone would like to make a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Ms. Wallace, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. See, guys, we're doing great. Just don't have like a 7-hour report, okay, later. Next, we're going to move on to discussion items, and this is going to be the stakeholder engagement survey, which we're finally getting back to. Thank you, Dr. Doozy, for your patience and understanding that we had to move it from before. She will now be presenting that information.
All right. It's in board docs, right? It was in board docs, right? Okay. I do not have a clicker. Thank you for your patience as we get the presentation loaded for everyone. All right. Good evening, Madam President, board members, my admin cabinet, and the community that may be watching at home or watching in the near future. I'm here this evening to present our stakeholder engagement surveys for the 2025-2026 school year. These surveys were taken by employees, families, and caregivers, and our 3rd through 8th grade students. I am Dr. Bridget Doozy. I'm the Deputy Superintendent of Academic Success here at Litchfield. The purpose of this presentation is to review the district-wide engagement survey data from the following stakeholder groups, which I already mentioned on my title slide, which is our employees, our families, and our 3rd through 8th grade students. We'll provide a district overview this evening for you for each survey. We've pulled out the major themes. On each survey, we ask our stakeholders what's working well, what needs to be improved. And so those are the themes that we'll share with you tonight. And then we're also going to share our next steps that we are going to take based on this data. The engagement surveys are a very important part of how we seek feedback from our stakeholder groups, and it really does help us align to our strategic plan in all 3 of the keystones of readiness, resources, and relationships. So a little background of the why and how, just to give the community as well as the board members. Soliciting feedback from stakeholders is a very important part of who we are as Litchfield. It allows our admin cabinet, as well as our admin council and our principals, to identify trends and perspectives and use those trends to make decisions. A lot of the work that admin cabinet has done over the last few years is directly connected to the feedback from our stakeholders. How we respond to this feedback does impact our capacity to provide that quality customer service to everyone that we serve. What is learned from the surveys will also be applied, as I shared, from admin council by the departments as well as the principals. And areas of improvements are addressed using those scorecards. So there might be specific action steps that different leaders take based on this feedback, in addition to how we use it as an admin cabinet. And we also use this time to celebrate, because there is a lot to celebrate about this perception feedback and the growth and satisfaction across our stakeholders. So the timeline is very very tightly aligned to when we deployed the survey last year, which is November of 2025. So let's first start with our employee engagement survey results. This year, I am presenting this year's data. I am happy to put any additional information from the past years in a Friday update to the board, but I really tried to make my presentation more succinct and provide really an overview for this year's data. So the total count of our employees were 758 participated in the survey. We have just under 1,400 employees, to give you an idea. The majority of this total count was employees that work at our school sites. So that's something that we're going to be talking about as a cabinet of how to make sure we reach more of our operational staff that do not, maybe aren't assigned to a specific school site. But we do have our department surveys that will be in about a month that we will give feedback based on their customer service. But it does, the survey is a little bit different than this one because this is all about engagement perception, and that's more about customer service that's received by that department. But that'll be a presentation for a different day. So what I've done here is baseline data was started in 2023 school year, or not school year, but 2023, that November timeline. So what you can see here is each question that's on the employee engagement survey. You can see the overall score for that question from a 3-year comparison. So I won't read every single score, but just understanding what you're looking at here is 2023 is on the far left, 2024 survey results is in the middle, and then our most recent survey is on the far right. And as you can see, steady gains across all perceptions. Here are the next set of questions. Again, you can see we have steady gains across the perception of all 6 through 10 of our questions. Oh, I think, no. And then this is questions 11 through 15. Again, hopefully you're noticing the same pattern. Those perceptions are steadily rising. Yes, so I should add that information. This scale is exactly the same as been years past, but it's important to note that this is a 1 through 5 scale. And then this is questions 16 through 19. Again, slow and steady, higher and higher wins the race, right? So definitely our employee perception is gaining stronger perceptions on their overall engagement as part of our organization. And then this is the overall average for the last 3 years. So when looking at those questions, as I shared with you, there's open-ended questions on the survey that ask all our stakeholders to answer the question about what's working well in our organization or at their school site, and what is the recommended improvements for their school site, department, or the organization, or department, rather. So what's working well, the top 5 themes from that open-ended response was strong team collaboration and collective efficacy. Positive, and what that means is working together to be more effective, right? That collective efficacy. And then positive school culture and a sense of belonging, supportive, visible leadership, student-centered focus and strong relationships, and effective systems and structures supporting instruction. And then the recommended improvements from our employees were assessment overload and instructional misalignment. Specifically, these comments were about our most recent change around how we assess students unit by unit using our common summative assessment. Communication, transparency, and follow-through. Behavior support and student accountability. And I will note, this used to be, until this year, the #1 most significant theme and it was not this year. So that really speaks volumes to the work we've done around the matrix. Workload and time and staff well-being, trust, autonomy, and professional expertise. That last bullet, I did keep that as a theme separated from assessment overload because it was a little bit different theme, but it was connected to being required with the new common summative assessment. A lot of that came from those comments came kind of from that origin. And also the Google form that we now have for supplemental material, there was comments around that too. That's what that means, is we now have a process where if you would like to use a supplemental material that is not on our current list, that you submit that in our district guiding coalition. So there were comments around that, just around that autonomy and that professional trust. All right, so let's take a look at our family and caregiver. So our count was 1,206 families that participated. We did try it this year. We had QR codes and posters up during our Thanksgiving feast. It made some impact, not as much as I thought it would make, but I think it definitely is a worthy thing for us to continue next year. So this sheet is set up the same way as I did the employee survey. So as you can see, the far left tells you what our 23 score was, middle is 2024, and then the far right is our 2025. So exciting data to see that our survey data from our families have always been strong, that 1 out of 5, but you can also see there's growth in each of these areas, which is exciting to see. Questions 6 through 10. And then questions 11 through 15. And then the total average score, as you can see, growth all the way around based on the perception of our families and their engagement and perception of their experience within our organization and at their school site. Right. So the top 5 themes in those open-ended questions: what's working well, strong communication that's built trust, caring, high-quality staff that are making a difference, positive, safe school environments, student learning and growth are evident, and then whole child development is a priority. And then the recommended improvements from our families: more consistent, clear, and balanced communication. This was an interesting theme because some of the themes were too much communication and some were not enough communication, so that's why I chose the word balanced. Stronger student behavior support and accountability, improved instructional quality, rigor, and feedback, leadership, visibility, responsiveness, and trust, and then facilities, operations, and safety enhancements. All right, now let's talk about our students and their experiences as a Litchfield learner. So 5,101 3rd through 8th grade students completed our survey. Again, same structure as the employee and the family from 2023 all the way to the right to 2025. So you can see some stable scores and then some increases. This is questions 6 through 10. Steady increases across the board in those perceptions. Questions 11 through 15. So number 11 is very interesting to me, and it's something that we're going to dive in further when I talk about next steps, but So many more of our kids are setting goals to track their progress than they ever were before. So it's very interesting to see that perception drop. But it's their perception, so we have to respect it and dive in deeper to find out why. And then, of course, number 16 is what really stood out to me in this survey, is that there was a slight decline in that perception. So really, again, diving in deeper with those student groups on each campus with their leaders to learn more about how we can increase that perception around school. So overall, an upward trend when we average them together. And then the top 5 themes from our kiddos: caring, supportive teachers who help us succeed. That was the overwhelming theme. Also, academic achievement and personal growth, a safe, positive, welcoming school environment, school recognitions, ratings, and reputation. Kids were really proud of their school's accomplishment and spoke to it. It was quite adorable about being an A school or an A+ school. And I wanted to add, this is the first time that actually we've asked these open-ended questions to students. So we decided, let's try it. Let's see what they say. And so it was really exciting to get to read. And they were actually really appropriate. So I was happy to see, no matter what grade level. So clubs, sports, leadership, and fun opportunities. And then ideas to make their school better is how we framed that question versus improvements. We just said, how do you make your school better? So more time for recess, lunch, and breaks. Better food and more lunch options. Cleaner, better maintained campuses and bathrooms. Stronger kindness, respect, and anti-bullying supports. And more choice, fun, and engagement in learning and activities. It's not really that surprising, but it's good to see the top themes. So taking all this together, just kind of high level, what's next, without getting really nitty gritty into some of that real site level specific action steps, but just moving this data into our next action. So each site and department, they roll out their results with their teams. As I shared with you, mostly the sites were mostly the participants, so that's something we just have to keep in mind when we're rolling it out. So that's something we need to address in the future and find out why. Why are not people from departments participating in the survey at the same rates and percentages as the site level? And then use what's learned to make updates to their current site and department scorecard. Our leaders, specifically our principals, because most of the data is from the sites, they have done that already. And then continue using feedback to refine district-wide choice professional development. The MBCT Guiding Coalition work around the Common Summative Test Assessment, you saw it kind of as 2 themes about that autonomy, the assessment expectations. So really having our nationally board certified Guiding Coalition teachers look at those CSAs, analyze them, and then we're doing that in the spring here soon, and then we're going to use that for summer work and invite more people to the table, specifically learning how to refine, setting out a goal to refine the frequency, the length, the questions, and the alignment. Because you also saw in the theme there was a belief that some of the questions weren't aligned instructionally, so we just want to make sure we go through them all and we vet them. So far, the ones that have been presented to us, there is alignment, but we want to make sure that we haven't missed anything. Because our curriculum is written for the Common Core standards most of the time versus the Arizona standards, because most curriculum is not written for a specific state. It's written for a more global standard set. So we just want to make sure we're hitting the mark. And then continue training on the purpose of common summative assessment and why that guaranteed and viable curriculum relies on both standards. And I like to say the standards are the road that we have to follow, but the curriculum is the vehicle. And without the curriculum, you're just walking, right? So the vehicle is what's going to really get us there. And then we're going to continue both existing and new initiatives, provide resources to staff for physical and mental health needs. I listed a few of them there, but you notice one of the themes was around that wellness of staff, so really digging in deeper of what we can provide our staff. We just had something pushed out today, actually, from Human Resources, which is an app, I believe, that they can use for mindfulness, to kind of get back to their executive state and calm. And so just looking for those opportunities to really build that mental health and wellness for our staff is an example of some of the work that we're doing. And then continued training on steps for discipline and school site response to student misbehavior. I think this probably will always be an active action step because we're always refining to get better with making sure that we're addressing student behavior with consistency, providing those consequences so kids learn, right? When you make bad choice, there's consequences, but also making sure that we're building skills as well as belonging for our kids. And then additional training on our bully, harassment, and intimidation resolution, as well as our reconnection plan post out-of-school suspension. That's something that we introduced a couple years ago, and not that it's drifted, I think it's just not yet planted as something that is mastered, or what's the word I want to say? It is still not with automaticity. Right? It's still not one of those things that people know like the back of their hand, this is the process. So we want to get there. And then review data around communication as admin cabinet to identify next steps. So you heard about the communication piece was a theme. And so really talking about how we're communicating with staff. We just had a conversation with our leaders today about even our Superintendent Advisory Council, like how we can do better, how can we use that group of educators to really help drive decision-making and enhance our communication and our transparency. So our leaders were able to give us some great feedback. So just collecting that information and making decisions to get better. And then professional development for teachers and guiding coalitions, specifically increasing rigor and student critical thinking. We've already started that work. We had a professional development opportunity called Inquiring Minds, that it was an optional. We had almost every school participate. Actually, every school had someone there participated. And then we have other training coming up to ensure that we are asking questions and we are allowing kids to do the productive disturbance is what I call it. They need to be a little productively disturbed, to be a little pushed, to really, really learn and move that learning to their long-term memory. So that's going to be a continuous. It's also one of the things that we see in the lift is that prompting thinking and making sure the kids are answering higher level questions. That's also data that we've gotten not just from the engagement survey, but really from the lift. Which our lift is that Litchfield instructional framework that we're using to walk through classrooms and gather data and give teachers feedback. I know we use a lot of acronyms in education, so I want to make sure. And then it's not a lift on a pickup truck. My husband thinks that's what I say lift. That's what he thinks I mean. So then safety was also one of those themes. So we are doing the surveillance camera rollout beginning spring break. So that's really exciting. We're starting at our middle schools. And then we're really excited that one of our middle schools is starting their bathroom remodel. So those kiddos should have some different things to say on their surveys next year. And then building leaders, identifying ways to integrate and align the Litchfield Learner I Can statements within units of instruction. So just really building upon that. We just met with our leaders about how maybe we can use our School Connect Cafe coming up to really start building that work. We've really kind of lived in the content expert this year of the Litchfield Learner with our common summative assessments. So really starting to spread out to really how we can operationalize the I Can statements across all grade levels in our year 2 officially of the Litchfield Learner I Can statements. And board approval of the social studies curriculum to increase resources for our 6th through 8th grade teachers. That's something we've been working on, but definitely something that would be important for that employee mental health and having those resources to take care of them. If they have the resources already ready for them, then that's going to take some of that workload and that burnout off. And also, if you remember, our social studies teachers were the ones that were most concerned about the supplemental materials because they were putting together a lot of their own curriculum. And so offering this does allow a guaranteed viable curriculum, but also gives some autonomy back because they're still using the curriculum that's been board approved to do their work. All right, so that is a high-level overview of our engagement surveys. So I'll open for any questions you might have.
Mr. Mikes?
You alluded to this, I mean, in the big picture piece. I know you said, so we have about 758 employees out of 1,400, and I know we have an action plan for that piece. Has that number gone up in engagement on people taking surveys from the prior years, did you say?
Yeah, I will get it for you in a Friday update, but it was lower than I was anticipating based on even the structures we put in place at the school sites. What I will say is the school sites held steady. It was really the departments that seemed to have lower participation rates. And I know those department leaders, worked hard to secure times to take the survey. So we also did it through a Google form this year. It was a different format last year. So I think maybe we need to look at that Google form and make sure that it was understandable to all employees. So maybe that was a detractor. So just really digging in deep to see, okay, they were given the same opportunity, why did they not take it?
Yeah, and that is always a big challenge for it. But I guess what I want to say is about overall what I see is, right off the bat, I did see those trends, and I do like seeing, it feels like there's these foundational things that are happening across the board. We all want to see giant leaps for things or want to imagine that could happen, but that slow and steady piece, it sounds like, well, I already said it, that foundational piece I think is really getting there, and I appreciate that. And also what I love about this district is it doesn't matter what the data is, whether it's the assessment testing data or even the survey data, for everybody to know everything is taken seriously, everything is broken down, everything is looked at, constant ways to look at improvement is what we are all about. And I appreciate that even when numbers are in the fours or, that's nice to see those fours, and, even when it grows, it's not like we push that off to the side and say, oh, we're good here. It's that constant challenge to be better. And it's just the same way we treat our students, our academics, how we push everybody in the district. So I appreciate, seeing all of this and the actions, and hopefully as we try to get over time, when people know they're heard and things are happening because of us hearing them and our action steps, hopefully more and more, people start participating specifically with the employees, go, oh, hey, they're actually listening and hearing what we have to say. So, all of that I appreciate. So thank you.
Thank you for commenting on that, because it's really important. We try to reinforce that every time we're with staff, that we listen to the survey data. And a lot of the work that we create for ourselves, honestly, comes from trying to make things better for our stakeholders. So thank you for recognizing that, because this team does take that feedback to heart, and that we do want to do better and be better for our stakeholders.
Ms. Wallace?
I had a similar question. Did our parent engagement number go up? Like how many had taken the survey?
I'll add that in a Friday update for you. I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but the parent numbers did decline a little bit.
Okay.
Even though they didn't rise to the level I thought with adding the Thanksgiving feast, because we have so many families that join us. It did not seem to make the impact that we hoped. So.
Okay. Yeah, and just a same idea of what Mr. Mike shared was, it's so important for the parents to comment on these things. If you want your voice to be heard in a collective way, like please make sure to do these surveys, and they are pretty quick and easy. They don't take 15 minutes to fill out.
Yes.
Overall, I think it's incredibly impressive that almost all of the scores are in the fours. Like when you look at those surveys, to be 5 is perfect. And so that we're getting so many people that are scoring us at a 5 in those different categories, whether it's our students, parents, or staff. to get to those 4.3, 4.5, any of those numbers is really impressive that people are saying 5, you've done the absolute best you can do. So that's very impressive, and I think that the scores are awesome, and I absolutely love seeing this data and what we do with this information. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Moran?
So I did look up the historical numbers. So that's the only bummer about this presentation is, so our employee survey this year, we had 758 participants. The average of the last 2 years was around 1,000. For families, we had 1,206 this year. The last 2 years were about 1,800. And then for students, we had 5,101, and the last 2 years, the average was about 6,250. So we do have some sort of decline. I don't have the answer for what that looks like. Obviously, I think the more participants, the better. So whatever other ideas anybody has on how to increase that, I think would be fabulous. I agree with Board Member Wallace that the biggest thing that stood out to me was the employee and the family average numbers being over 4, not even just a titch, but like really progress that are over 4. So when we started doing these surveys, we were told by the professional consultants that put them together that, don't expect to get over a 4 because that means you're like blowing it out of the water. And so I love to see that. So I think that's amazing. Am really curious to see what these surveys will, particularly the employee survey, will look like next year, because these were taken when the CSA process was still new. And so I am wondering, as we tweak and improve that, and then as teachers see the effectiveness of that we're expecting to see, how that will change the feedback around that. And then the only other thing I will say, and really echo what Board Member Mike said, is I appreciate that we not only solicit this feedback, but then we analyze it and we use it to make decisions and to determine what we're going to do next. I think the bathroom remodel is a great, very practical example for that. This board and this district is actually listening to what you're saying, and we are hearing you. So please participate more, do more of the surveys. And we love positive feedback, but we also love negative feedback, because otherwise how are we going to improve and learn the things that we could do better?
Absolutely.
So I think overall this is fantastic. I'm so glad that we do this, and I appreciate the presentation.
Mr. Owens?
Everything I wanted to say has been said, so thank you so much.
I feel the same. Like, I echo what everybody said. These are amazing scores. And I will say that it is possible that sometimes people don't have anything to say when they're happy with the way things are. And so sometimes that could be what is making people not, because we have made people so happy that we are all these 4s. And so they're like, I don't need to give you any feedback, but I do agree that we would like it. And I don't know how we do that. Because I did see those QR codes at every campus that I went and helped serve lunch at, and they were everywhere. So I don't know what we need to do. Get your people out there and the mascots with, I don't know. But because I would like to see that increase also. And I don't know, I don't remember if the students did they have to get permission to fill this out? I know with surveys or whatever.
No, because under the law, there's certain questions that you have to seek parental permission, and this survey did not have any questions that met that criteria.
Yeah, so I don't know how we build that in, because I'm assuming the fact that we had so many was that kids were doing it at school.
Yes.
But I guess
That is exactly how it was scheduled, so.
okay.
And
So, yeah.
our problem is we give out the dessert for the Thanksgiving thing before survey
That's
verification
right. That's
takes
a good plan.
place.
It's like
So I
a
would
ticket
like
for your
to-
dessert.
You gotta like make a competition between the schools somehow. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
to
I
get-
will tell you, statistically, when you look at research and you want to analyze survey data for its relevance and if it's valid, the sample sizes that we have on our survey, I keep it open to ensure. We always say this is a cutoff date, but we always end up pushing it and doing more pushes, because I want to ensure each year that we have a sample size that is valid, even if it is a little different from year to year. So.
Yeah, but I mean, and last but not least is definitely the fact that you guys take this information and you do something with it. I think that's very important. All too often, people do surveys and it doesn't mean anything, so that's why people don't want to do it. but we do stuff with it. And so that's really great that you guys consistently take this information and use it to make decisions for this district that are in the best interest of students. So thank you guys for always doing that.
And I guess I would just add for the community and anyone that's listening that's a stakeholder, maybe because we present high level here, the themes, the major themes, I want to make sure anyone that participates in the survey moving forward know that we consider all feedback equally. We just present the high-level themes here just to give an overarching pattern, but know that each site leader and department leader does look at every single comment, and they do make changes based on their own themes or their own, what's in their control at their campuses or respective departments. So I don't want that to be lost. Maybe that's why sometimes people feel like, well, that's not my theme. Right? So I just wanted to make sure that they knew that we don't just focus on the 5 highest themes. We do take every comment very seriously.
Is there a way that schools could take their stuff, so and have some kind of thing that they send out to their families that's like, here's our themes that we had, so that parents, because I think that they will see their themes show up there more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually provided that to all of them. I analyzed each individual school and I provided them their themes along with the actual real deal comments. But and I know some principals have put it in newsletters.
I think that would be super helpful if parents see that, and then also seeing that we are looking at everything you're saying. And if they shared, here's 1 or 2 things we're doing next year with that, to show parents, your feedback matters. So that might help with increasing our.
Absolutely, those are great ideas.
So. Thank you very much for this information. Okay, guys, we're almost done. Next, we're going to move on to reports. We're going to start with Dr. Davidson.
Thank you, President Zaidama, members of the board, and appreciate you all being here tonight for this board meeting. Just a few comments from my end, and I'll start with the perception data. We know perception is reality, and I think to the comments tonight, I would say both negative and or positive comments are certainly welcomed, and I just appreciate the fact that people do see that we take the information seriously and use it as part of that continuous plan for improvement. Exciting and hot off the presses today, on behalf of the West Side Impact, that's a large amount of West Side elementary school districts that get together, provide opportunities for students and staff. We did honor one of our principals today in our meeting. She will serve as the West Side Impact Principal of the Year for Litchfield Elementary School District. I want to give a shout out to Dreaming Summit's principal, Miss Michelle Hill. So congratulations to her. Well-deserved honor today. Some upcoming events that are just noteworthy. Wanted to highlight on March 14th, a group of us will be celebrating the National Board Certified Teachers on behalf of our district, but also many other districts across the state. On behalf of the District of Distinction Award, we did earn that as Litchfield. We earned that distinction last year, and we will be presenting to 2 other school districts that same award coming up here real soon. So we're excited to recognize those teachers and those districts. Spring break is amongst us, and for you as families, those that are listening and those that have kids in our school, certainly we wish that you have a safe time and just a fun time away from us, and perhaps even some relaxation. It's been a busy last few weeks, and we're looking for some time away. On March 24th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. will be our second cafe model with School Connect. We'll be doing that at the Refinery Church, which is just held on Indian School and near the 303. We're working with our principals right now to just figure out which community partners will be joining us and what our schools are looking forward to do with those community partners, how will it positively impact their campuses. So that's happening right now, and of course that night, Governing Board, we will be together in a Governing Board meeting. Last but not least, we also have a job fair at the end of the month, Saturday the 28th. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew, from 9 to 11 a.m. at Corte Sierra. And we're excited to partner with HR and the team to bring people into our district. So thank you, President Zaidama.
Thank you. We will move on to reports from governing board members. We'll start with Mr. Mikes.
Okay. The first thing I had, we went to Scott Libby for a showcase, and once again, another showing of excellence as far as what a school does and how it treats the kids. We heard a live performance from the choir, and it's just a great school, great environment. It's good to hear. We hear directly from the kids, which is nice. To hear everything that they're doing. So just a big shout out to administration, all the teachers, all the kids on their success so far with Scott Libby and what they're doing out there. We recognize it and appreciate it. Also had an opportunity to read to a 5th grade class and a 2nd grade class for Mabel Paget. That was exciting. I had an opportunity to figure out why dinosaurs like tacos so much. So that was good because I didn't know until I had read the book. So that was really important to find out. All the 2nd graders already actually knew about it, but it was new for me. And so that was a great experience. It's always awesome to read to the kids and see their faces, no matter what their age is. And the last thing is a little bit of a shout out. I had a chance to go down to district office to work on some stuff to clean up the evaluation tool, and got a chance to walk by and see a new sign hanging on somebody's office door, which may I note that they didn't even see it. I saw it before she did, but it says Dr. Jennifer Benjamin. And so I appreciate and recognize all of the incredible hard work that you do for us, and on top of it, all the additional hard work that you were doing to go down that path and everything. So a massive congratulations to that. We're really excited for you and very proud of you.
Ms. Wallace?
I also was able to attend the Scott Libby Showcase, which was great. As my former home campus for many years, I have a special place in my heart for them, so it was great to be there. Congratulations, Dr. Jennifer Benjamin. That's pretty amazing. And last but not least, we are about to enter our last quarter of the school year, which is crazy that it goes by so quickly. But as we come back from spring break, we start that last quarter, and just a reminder to all of our families and students to make sure you are in attendance for the state testing weeks. They are published on the website for when your testing is, and just excited to see the amazing results of our students and all of their hard work this year.
Ms. Moran?
Well, I'm going to do a rinse and repeat from my last board report, which is to say budget. But from there, I'm actually going to add an ode to the state of our state funding as approved by your elected legislators. So I will quote from Never Enough by Lauren Allred. Never enough. Never, never. Never enough. Never, never. Never enough for us.
Mr. Owens?
Keep it short. I also attended the Scott Libby Showcase. Again, always love seeing the campuses, the performance, the students, hearing from them, flipping through binders and watching these kids take ownership of their education, their goals. We were asking students questions, and they knew what curriculum they were using, and that's so foreign to me when I was in grade school. I think I barely knew what textbook I was supposed to be reading out of, but it's great to see. And then I had an opportunity to attend the first Mabel Pageant Special Olympics at Goodyear High School. That was really cool. This bus full of excited young kids showed up, and they were greeted with a red carpet, and the fans and parents were there. So thank you to Goodyear High School for hosting us. The students competed in a short sprint. They had a javelin throw, a softball throw, a standing long jump, and a running long jump, and it was really cool to watch. Hopefully that we can expand on that in the future and get more schools involved. And yeah, that's it for me.
Well, I'm going to start with something I forgot last time, but it's only been a week and a half, so it's okay that I add one more thing. Last time I was able to attend, our Dr. Duzey was picked to speak at the Leader in Me Symposium that was held here in Phoenix, and we had a lot of our schools had a lot of people there that were in attendance, but I got to go and see her speech that she gave to everybody, which was really awesome to have our district represented, because we do a lot with Leader in Me, but we're just amazing, and Dr. Duzey's amazing, so I could go on and on about how great she is, and it was great to have her speak. They even had her come and do some sound bites later, I'm pretty sure. But I have to say, actually, while I love Dr. Duzey, the best part was our students, because before Dr. Duzey spoke, they had a panel of students come up and answer some questions, and we had students from all over the place, but for us, we had a student from Verado Heritage and a little guy from Rancho Santa Fe that was up there, and they held their own, and the student from Verado Heritage, she was hilarious. I love her. And also, there was another student that got to speak very last minute before Dr. Duzey was going to talk. The person that was supposed to come up and introduce her wasn't able to do it. So they asked a student from Verado Heritage that was there to just last minute do it, and she got herself together and she did it, and she was fantastic. So I think Leader in Me is fantastic, and I'm glad that we got to shine in this environment and show all the great things that are happening with our students in that program. And also, thank you to the schools that then let a bunch of people come onto your campuses so that you got to show off what's happening on your campuses. We as a board have gotten to come see some mini stuff of that, which has been pretty neat. But that was my thing I missed before. Since then, in a week and a half, I was also able to go to the Mabel Pageant Special Olympics event at Goodyear. That was super fun. Special Olympics is near and dear to my heart, and we found out from Principal Willis that it's also near and dear to her heart, and she's been wanting to do something like this for a very long time. I believe that our cafe model that we did this last year is what allowed her to make this vision a reality, by her being able to partner up with Luke Parker from the Goodyear Rec Center and his being in charge of the adaptive program there and making those things come together. So thank you to City of Goodyear for also partnering there. They had Mayor Pizzillo was there. There was a ton of people that came to this event, and the kids really felt like they were special, and they got to, do their stuff, and everybody cheered for them, and then parents got to come out and run with their kiddos later. So it was a pretty fun event, and I also want to see this expanded across our district. Been saying every time we need unified sports in our middle schools. I will keep saying that. I would like to see that, but I'd like to see something like this. I don't know why we can't try and put it together for all of our campuses that have these specialized programs. Eventually, I get that it'll take time for that to grow. And then I was not able to go to Scott Libby, which really broke my heart, because Scott Libby is near and dear to my heart. My kids went there for 7 years, and that's always going to hold a special place for me. But I was selected to go on a field trip with the 8th graders from Wigwam Creek, who got to go to STEM Day at PIR and got to do a bunch of STEM activities and got to hear from Microsoft. And they had people there talking to them about being piloting drones, because they had the Amazon Prime Air people there, and they got to work with power tools because the Chase building team was there, and so they had some power tools out there, and they were sharing all kinds of stuff with the kids. It was really fun. The kids had a great time, and I appreciate Dr. Stone, who I guess was able to find this and make this happen, and then through Title Funds we were able to fund the transportation so the students can go, and it was a totally free field trip for these kiddos to do. And they had a great time. It was super fun. And then they fed them all pizza, which was awesome. Kids love pizza. So it was a really fun field trip. I'm really excited that our kiddos got to have that happen. And then today I got to read to 3 classes at Mabel, which is my favorite thing that we get to do on this board. I love that the schools that have those kind of events reach out to us as board members and ask us to come in. I love getting to talk to the students and hear directly from them. I did have a student ask me why we don't have cool math games anymore, so I said I would ask, so just throwing that out there. But thank you to Mrs. O'Neill, who puts that together for Mabel and always inviting us. It was a really fun time, and I appreciate it. And with that, that's the end of my report. Thank you, everyone that has joined us. Thank you to our administrators that send in the reports. Everybody read them, please. They are very, very, very full of information. It's the best way to know what's going on in our district is to look at those reports. You can see a little bit of every campus. You can see a little bit of all of our district departments. And so it's a great way to just be informed of what's happening. If you want to know, look at those. They're there every time. Thank you to the administrators who put it together. I know that that's time out of your day to put that together, so thank you for doing that. And with that, if somebody wants to make a motion, we can be done.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Having a motion from Mr. Owens and a second from Ms. Wallace, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
I'm also yay. Motion passes. Thank you guys for joining us.